The man walking around inside Mexico's most secure prison is not an ordinary person. He is none other than the world's most dangerous and powerful drug smuggler, El Chapo. Special CCTV cameras have been installed in his cell, keeping him under 24/7 surveillance. There are no windows or ventilation in his cell, just a small shower area built in one corner. But here's the surprising part. Despite all the strict security and constant monitoring, El Chapo casually walks toward the shower area and then completely disappears from the view of the security staff. After half an hour, when the guards started getting suspicious, they went inside the cell. But the world's most dangerous drug smuggler had already escaped. How did he run away and from where? Let's take a look at El Chapo's life and his unbelievable escape. In 1957, El Chapo was born in a small town of Mexico called Badiraguato. His real name was Joaquin Guzman, but later he gave himself the name El Chapo. His involvement in drug trading was something he inherited. His father, who was a small-time drug dealer himself, kicked El Chapo out of the house at a very young age. El Chapo had no job to survive, and even after searching, when he couldn't find any work, he too started selling drugs. At just 15 years old, he started growing drugs himself. He would choose an isolated area for himself and began growing marijuana there. Slowly, his drug trading business grew so much that big drug dealers of Mexico wanted to recruit him into their gangs. Around the 1970s, he joined a gang named El Güero Palma. In this gang, he used to oversee drug smuggling operations, and he was so strict in his work that whenever a delivery was late or there was even a small mistake, he would kill the dealer. In the 1980s, he joined the gang of the most famous drug dealer at that time, El Padrino Gallardo. This gang was the biggest drug trading group in Mexico. In this gang, El Chapo was given the responsibility of logistics and drug shipments. His job was to keep an eye on the drugs coming from Colombia to Mexico. But in 1989, the gang's leader Gallardo was caught by the agencies and the gang broke apart. Taking advantage of the situation, El Chapo formed his own gang, which he named the Sinaloa Cartel. Now, drugs were being sent to America through two routes. Most of the drugs came through the Caribbean side, and the second route was through the Mexican borders. American agencies had kept all their focus on the Caribbean side, and many drug dealers and gangs had already been caught. El Chapo took advantage of this and started using different channels to send drugs into the USA. He used to grow a lot of drugs in which methamphetamine, heroin, ecstasy, cocaine, and marijuana gave him the most profit. That's why he focused more on these drugs. But delivering drugs into the USA was not that easy. And that's why he used to do this work with extreme cleverness. In the beginning, he would smuggle drugs that didn't have a strong smell like cocaine by hiding them inside fire extinguishers, chili pepper cans, or even in car rims, in such a way that even the drug-sniffing dogs couldn't detect them. But the problem was that other than cocaine, the rest of the drugs couldn't be smuggled in this way. That's why he adopted a method that later became his signature move, and that method was tunnels. He would invest millions of dollars and hire experts to build underground tunnels that had full systems of electricity and ventilation, and through those tunnels, he started smuggling drugs into the USA. In 1990, the officers of the Federal Bureau of Investigation were shocked when they discovered El Chapo's first tunnel. That tunnel was 300 feet long and had a complete setup of electricity. The tunnel opened into a house which used to be El Chapo's safe house, and in case of emergency, he could escape through that tunnel. El Chapo knew all the rules of this business. That's why, despite countless efforts, he was never caught. In November 2010, another tunnel was found in Otay Mesa, which had the same kind of facilities. But apart from that, a rail system was also installed underground, which was used to remove debris during construction and later to transport drugs. In 2012, more tunnels were found in Tijuana, and in 2013, another one was discovered in Otay Mesa. Due to his amazing skill, El Chapo and his gang came to be known as the King of Tunnels. He would make his tunnels so deep that even ground-penetrating radar machines couldn't detect them. And he used to hide the tunnel entrances cleverly, like under bathtubs or toilets. Before building a tunnel, he would choose the location very carefully. He planned to carry out most of his smuggling operations from the California city of Otay Mesa, located near the Mexico border. He chose Otay Mesa for three main reasons. The first was that Otay Mesa was close to two major transport hubs, Tijuana and San Diego. And because of these hubs, transporting drugs to the agents was much easier. The second reason was that it was an industrial area with many factories, heavy machines, and the constant noise of traffic. Because of this, digging tunnels was easier, as the noise of the digging would get drowned out by the sounds from the factories. The third reason was the soil in this city, because on one side of the city there was the ocean, which made the soil very soft, making digging much easier. On the other side, there were mountains, which gave strength to the soft soil, and that's why the tunnels didn't collapse. In every way, this city was ideal for El Chapo's tunnels. On June 9, 1993, Mexican authorities finally caught El Chapo and sentenced him to 20 years in prison. But even this prison became his office. He would bribe the prison staff to get every facility he needed and even arrange business meetings to keep his operations running smoothly. In 2001, the Supreme Court of Mexico made a decision that made the process of prisoner exchanges between the United States and Mexico easier. El Chapo knew that due to his drug smuggling activities, the US government would demand his extradition and imprison him there, making it very difficult for him to escape from the US once captured. That's why El Chapo made his first escape plan from a Mexican prison. He bribed the guards with $2.5 million and escaped by hiding inside a laundry basket. For the next 13 years, he continued his drug trade, tunnels, and other crimes, keeping both the US and Mexican governments on edge without ever getting caught. But after 13 years of hard work, Mexican agencies finally tracked down his exact location and raided his house. This time, he had already planned his escape. He crawled into a secret tunnel under the bathtub in the bathroom. But the authorities didn't let him go far, and once again, he was captured. Then he was sent to Mexico's most secure prison, Altiplano Maximum Security Prison, and was placed under special surveillance. But just 1 year later, on July 11, 2015, while he was walking in his cell, he was last seen near the shower area at 8:50 p.m. The only part of his cell that was out of the camera's view was the shower area. Around half an hour later, when he wasn't seen on the cameras, the lockup was opened to inspect his cell. By the time the guards went inside, El Chapo had already escaped. He cleverly enlarged the gutter near the shower area and dug a tunnel that was connected to a larger tunnel below. This tunnel opened 1.5 kilometers away at a nearby construction site. The tunnel was 33 feet below the ground and 5 feet 7 inches wide, big enough for a person to easily pass through. But this time, his freedom didn't last long. On January 8, 2016, Mexican Marines raided his safe house in Los Mochis, and after a lot of effort, he was captured once again. This time, the US government didn't want to take any risks, so in 2017, the Mexican government handed El Chapo over to the USA. He is currently serving a life sentence at the Supermax prison in Colorado. But the truth is, no matter how much security is in place, but the US government still fears that El Chapo might escape again.